Hello friends, today we are going to see the introduction of a very widely acclaimed novel by the name Lord of the Flies, written by William Golding. If we look closely at the title of the novel, it suggests the character of the Lord who governs flies. Flies are winged characters, winged, very primitive beings, very small beings, and in fact are very insignificant as organisms, very minute as organisms, and yet they are found everywhere in the world. So, the central character of this novel ought to be someone who is the Lord of the Flies. At a later understanding, when we have delved deep into this novel, we will find what actually is William Golding's mission to write this novel. But before that, let us understand the personage. But let us have an introduction of William Golding. William Golding is a British novelist who started teaching English and philosophy in Salisbury in 1935. He temporarily left teaching in 1940 to join the Royal Navy. And in 1954, he published his first novel, Lord of the Flies, which came into print only after several rejections, because the time then was the time of the world wars. Because the Second World War, when it had ended, had caused a kind of suspicion about people, about the motives driven by which they were writing down their works. And this novel, Lord of the Flies, is the story of youngsters, very young boys, and yet they are capable of burning away a whole island. So, a kind of unrest brewed against this work, and people were not very much into taking this work and forwarding it for publication. However, when this work was assimilated for its significance by the people all over the world, it became such an acclaimed writing that William Golding was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1983. There definitely should have been something, a great impact and a great message behind this novel, that this prize was conferred onto him. Also, let me tell you that on the biblical levels, Lord of the Flies is the name given to Beelzebub, the first closest to Satan. And when, after the fall, Satan addressed him as Lord of all the flies that were bestrewn on the burning soil of hell. Someone who was capable of taking command, and someone who is capable of sending his messengers to destroy mankind, tempting them to the hell. So, keeping in mind this relevance of the title, some kind of evil has its association here. To speak short of the novel is a very gripping story of a group of adolescent boys who, by a stroke of ill luck, are found as stranded, as deserted on a lonely island where there was nothing but pigs to chase. So, when they are found there, and this happens after a plane crash, they are the survivors, all adolescents, and this novel explores the savage side of human nature as the boys, let loose from the constraints of society, brutally turned against one another in the face of an imagined enemy. So, because they are adolescents, they are full of energy and gusto. But because they have no one to govern them, there are no restrictions of society. So, definitely they are prone to mischief because the age dictates them that mischief. So, these children, these boys, I am sorry, not children, but the adolescents, a kind of strife develops among them, and they feel that there is an existing enemy, because once they set fire on one side in order to catch attention of the passing by ships, which could catch attention because of the smoke, and this venture fails, and then again. But this stay at this deserted island has caused them to become masters of their mind. Here, things take very unexpected turns, and yet very expected ones. One would expect mischief and rivalry and game playing. So, this game playing, which keeps them busy, also drags them into a rivalry against each other. In fact, the novel tends to examine man's internal struggle between good and evil. Since they had all been sufferers of the same fate, despite that, they are governed by their primary intentions of good and evil. And this, they just carry themselves on. And it is so unexpected to happen among adolescents that 3 are killed even before they can, at the end of the novel, be rescued by someone. So, this majestic island, which just came to be accidentally inhabited by these adolescents, has much of the bearing of this big world. This island becomes a microcosm of the big world, where people, when they should really coexist with all the resources that are there on earth, they refuse to do so. And they unnecessarily plunge into destruction of each other, unknowingly that by cutting down the number of each other, they would be and they could be faced by any calamity which they might not resist and or even face. So, in fact, This novel is uh, the imagination and, in fact, actually, the portrayal of the world as William Golding saw it during his World War II experiences. William Golding once said, I quote, I began to see what people were capable of doing. Anyone who moved through those years without understanding that man produces evil as a bee produces honey must have been blind or wrong in the head. We have to remember that William Golding was primarily a teacher, but also by his own desire had been a fighter at the World War II. So there he came to have a real vision of the world, and he admits that he began to see. That means he was not introduced to the actual evil that resides in the hearts of all people. He says, I began to see what people were capable of doing. So, people, if they are capable to do good, are equally capable of destruction. And he said that we should not delude ourselves with the vision that we are godly creatures, that we have been created by God. We should also remember that a Satan is always on the prowl, is always on the hunt to catch anyone who is tempted by temptation that he lays down in our paths. And therefore, he says that anyone who refuses to see the innate evil in the hearts of the people is really perforce acting blind and acting wrong in the heart. By negating the evil, you cannot negate the actual presence of evil in this world. And why at all did the two world wars happen? They happened because evil is omnipresent. In these worlds where man can stand against a man and can be as cruel as to make affiliations and associations to destroy someone who might be coming in the way of his vested interests. And this evil goes on to the limit of annihilating mankind, wiping away humanity from the face of this earth. These are the pains that guided William Golding, who partook in the World War II and who saw the evil rampant in the society. And this, he says, is in fact as if Beelzebub is existing on earth. Beelzebub is present everywhere. This Lord of Flies is captivating the minds of the people. So, a novel of such magnitude as generated an immediate appeal, but then also got banned. So, we will try to see what are the main ideas. I shall share the gist of the novel with you as a PDF shortly, and we will continue to look into the implications and the various thematic concerns in this novel, which in fact is an allegory. An allegory is a piece of work in which more is meant than meets the eye. We might be meeting the gang of adolescents who have been able to survive after the plane crash, who exist on an island but only to find differences, only to find reasons to kill each other, even while their simple course of game playing. So, this game playing, this coexistence, is it for the better or is it for the worse? And how the Lord of the Flies is existing here in this novel, I shall delve, I shall try to make an analysis of that in the coming lecture. But this is all for today. Thank you.